Hello and happy November, everybody. So I keep getting asked quite regularly about moulds and buying moulds online from places like, especially eBay and other suppliers other than eBay, maybe private sites and all that type of thing. I've never bought a mould online. I prefer to make my own, and so I'll choose an object which I like, and then mould that particular object or sculpt an object and make a mould from the sculpture. I notice on places like eBay, when you are buying moulds, latex moulds in particular, um, the moulds that tend to be, most of the moulds tend to be sold without a fiberglass mother mould. Now, I wouldn't buy a mould without a mother mould of some kind, and preferably a fiberglass mother mould, although plaster of Paris bandage mother moulds are pretty good as well, and I've made those from time to time. The reason for that is probably obvious to most of you, and that would be that you need the mother mould to support the concrete inside or whatever material you're using for casting. So that could be concrete, plaster of Paris or whatever, so you need something to support that weight when you pour your material into the mould. So I'd be okay with like buying a very small mould, but you still want to support it with something, and the most popular method for that would be to use sand. So you would use sand as a kind of makeshift mother mould, although I'd be very reluctant to use that on the bigger moulds. I don't think even sand is going to keep the shape of the cast with bigger moulds, of course. Silicone moulds is a different story, depending on how you make the silicone mould. If you're making a glove mould from silicone, then again you're going to need a mother mould of some description. I've made moulds with silicone where they're poured into an area, say like a cube or a jar shape, so the silicone's so thick that it acts as a mother mould anyway, or so sturdy that the when you pour the material into the mould, it's not going to move about. The silicone's so thick that it will keep the shape, maintain the shape of the poured cast. Tell a lie, I did actually buy some very tiny silicone moulds a long time ago. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and they're just like tiny little moulds, and I think that the moulds are actually made from like a silicone putty type of thing, so that the people that made the moulds probably just pressed the silicone putty around the object. In this case, there's like a little lizard. Oh, and I bought a little tiny little frame mould also, and that was like for a resin casting, and they were fine, cheap, like a couple of quid, something like that, and they were fine, and they kept their shape, although I hardly ever used those moulds. It was kind of gimmicky, really. But we're really sort of talking about the big moulds. I know something like this. This skull cast here would need a mother mould. I've got a Buddha cast somewhere. Now this Buddha cast, this is a tiny cast, as you can see. I had a mould. I have made moulds from this, and the layers are about 30 layers thick, so you could probably just shove that into some sand, pour in whatever material you want to pour in there, and that would maintain its shape. But that's a tiny mould, as you can see, so the latex isn't going to move too far, depending on the thickness of the mould, of course, because if it's too thin, then you would need a mother mould. But even making moulds from this size, I still make a mother mould for casts this size, because when you're making stuff, I tend to sort of like go on a belt and braces mentality. You want your casts to turn out as you want them to turn out. You don't want to be taking any chances and all that type of thing. So this is just my personal recommendation, of course. I wouldn't buy latex moulds online or from eBay if they don't come with a mother mould. And like I say, preferably fiberglass, but a well-made plaster of Paris bandage mother mould will be good enough too. So that's that area cleared up. I don't think I've got any more to add to that, but if there is, I'll say in another video. Also, shout out to Rozani, and she makes whimsical items, masks, masquerade masks, and she uses paper mache and paper mache clay. So have a look at her channel if you haven't already done so by now, and if you're into that type of thing, then you'll love her channel. All spooky things and all kinds of stuff, whimsical, and lots of other things with her personal stamp on her creativity. If you're a Van Halen fan, you'll be aware that Eddie Van Halen died early last month in October, so I was a big Van Halen fan, and I love guitar music and hard rock, well, all kinds of music with guitar in it, and been listening to Van Halen for 36 years, ever since Jump hit the charts back in 1984, so I would have been 11 years old then. So I'm from the UK, so I don't think we would have had Van Halen. Van Halen wouldn't have been very well known but prior to Jump. So ever since then, gone to Jump, and then of course with Sammy Hagar, and there was another hit with Why Can't This Be Love, and a few other hits, Dreams, and so on. And I remember I was so into Van Halen, I think OU812 and For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge are the only albums that I bought when they were released on that actual day. So it's like waiting for Christmas. So yeah, Eddie Van Halen, like guitar hero from when I was a teenager. I was always into, I liked Martin Knopfler. I loved Martin Knopfler from Dire Straits. I loved Andy Summers from The Police. And there's a guitarist in my dad's band. He was in a band when I was younger called Dave Fussell. He was a great guitarist. And Eddie Van Halen and David Gilmour from Pink Floyd. They were like the guitarists that I loved at the time. And The Edge from U2. I remember all those guitarists. I just loved the sound of the way they played the guitar, and they all sounded different. So anyway, I got another channel, Moonrunner Music. Some of you might already be there already, so there's a lot of guitar stuff on there, but I thought I'd share my tribute to Eddie Van Halen in this video. So it's his famous solo from the first album, which I think was 1978, and of course you'll know the tune, his most famous solo, Eruption. So here's my tribute to Eddie Van Halen.